call today for my auto warranty.
I call the Planning Commission meeting for October 19th to order, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jackie, we call the roll?
Mr. Tiedemann?
Here.
Mr. Varga?
Here.
Mr. Crocker?
Excused.
Mr. Haddon?
Here.
Mr. Perkovich?
Excused.
Ms. Small? Here. Mr. Cook?
Here. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting September 28th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Ms. Small?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes. On tonight's agenda, we have two public hearings, and the applicant has asked for these two agenda items to be tabled. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to place these two items on the table.
So moved.
Second.
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Ms. Small?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes. Under new business, we have a miscellaneous review to amend a conditional use permit at 7271 Lakeshore Boulevard. Is that applicant here?
I don't believe so, but in conferring with our law director, I think because of the simple nature of the request, we can move forward.
Okay. Kathy, anything from the administration?
This is just a simple conditional use permit transfer, transfer and ownership for the co-op preschool at 7271 Lakeshore Boulevard. The applicant originally had submitted that they wanted to allow for children 2 years of age to be included in the facility. However, after discussions with the building department and our chief building official, going under 2.5 years of age under the building code would dictate the building being sprinklered. And so that was not an option for them, so they have removed that request from the table, and this is now just a simple ownership transfer. So we did make that as a condition under item number 1, that children under the age of 2.5 are not permitted, just to make sure that that information was made clear. And if they did decide to move forward, that the building would have to comply with the Ohio Building Code. So that was the main issue, but otherwise this is for the Mentor Cooperative Preschool, Inc. That had made the request.
Thank you. Anything from the commission members?
I just have one question about the 2.5 years. Is it, the cutoff is the first 30 months and are not allowed, and then older than that? Or is it, once you get to, I mean, it's a technicality, but we need to be clear about this for the building code issue.
I mean, the code literally said 2.5 years old. There wasn't, it wasn't anything
They
else
have to
about
be at least 2.5
2.5 years old.
So that
Yes.
would be 30 months. I mean, because people sometimes round some of that off. Should it say 30 months instead of 2.5? Well, if the code says.
Oh, the code says
2.5
2.5 years,
Yeah,
yeah.
just like that. I just wondered, 2.5 before or after, that's all.
And as our chairman pointed out to me earlier today, it's because the 2.5-year-olds can run out of the building in the
Right,
event of a
right.
fire, so.
Right.
Is there anything else? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve with the 3 conditions.
Second.
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Ms. Small?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes. Final site plan of an automobile repair shop at 7515 Tyler Boulevard. Is that applicant here? Come on up, give us your name and address. Tell us a little bit about what you want to do regarding the site plan. We'll get to the architectural review after this, but let's just tackle the site plan first.
Nick 9461 Kenwood Road.
Brandon Larkey, 9461 Kenwood Road.
We're proposing a 12,100 square foot Caliber Collision Auto Repair Facility at 7515 Tyler Boulevard. Main access drive will be off of Tyler Boulevard as shown. We have 12 customer parks in the front of the building, 60 rear parks. This is where the employees and any car that's being serviced will be parked. There's a gate at the southwest corner of the building. It's a sliding gate. That'll be open during all business hours and locked when the business is closed. The rear of the building, more customer parks to the rear. We've got trash enclosure to the rear. We're proposing stormwater pond in the rear as well. And then also another small one in the southwest corner of the property. The rear of the building, we've got the detail bay. And then on the east side of the building, we're proposing ground-mounted HVAC units. That'll be screened with the 8-foot vinyl fencing. It's got gates. And also we've got 8-foot vinyl fence surrounding all the rear parks. And then just to provide a little bit more information on access to the mechanical units on the east side of the building, this will be very similar to how they're serviced on our other sites where they're typically on the roof. The service technician will park in the customer area and then walk down the side of the building and be able to access, open the gates to service. Just like if they were on the roofs, they would bring a ladder to the building, climb up on the roof and service them that way as well. We've got landscaping surrounding the perimeter of the site. I believe we're meeting the landscape requirements. Pretty much covers the site plan. Happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Thank you. Kathy, anything from the administration?
Just ask for a little clarification on that access drive, so that it won't be utilized by vehicles, it'll only be used for pedestrian-type users?
Yeah, I believe there was a little bit of confusion there. We talked to John and explained how we plan on servicing the units. I don't think, there's not an access drive currently there. We've got a dashed line. I believe that is, unless our engineer put something on there that I didn't catch, but I think there is a planned access drive. The service technician would just be walking to the units.
Okay. It was 12 feet wide, which was more typical for vehicles. That's why I was asking. I mean, if it's sidewalk, that's fine. I just wanted to clarify, and if we could get that clarified.
Yeah, I think it would be our preference to not provide anything there. I mean, it's very tight over there to the property line. I don't really see any need for it. Could remove that. I think that would be preferred. It's not a code requirement.
Anything from the commission members?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Haddon?
It does state here that it says 12-foot service access to mechanical enclosures, and you're also putting a rolled curb at that location. So you're saying you want those taken off or not?
Yeah, I think that'd be the preference. That's on me for not catching that was provided. I had the conversation with our engineer about, not providing that and just walking back there. Again, just like they would service it. If it was on the roof, they would take a ladder and put it up on the building and walk up to the roof. So we'd like to keep it consistent here as well.
George? You all set?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Varga?
The fire department didn't have any concerns about access around the building, or, this 12-foot space, did they need access there?
They did not comment on that.
I noticed they didn't. I'm
specifically.
just wondering about maintaining that as a,
I guess I don't see the harm in maintaining it. I mean, again, if there's 6 inches of snow on the ground and somebody's got to trek through there, it would be nice to have a paved area versus, a non-paved area. And it would be helpful from an emergency service standpoint.
And and the fire department reviewed this with this note on here.
right,
Yes.
it's okay.
Is there anything else?
Just one question. You're double parking your vehicles that you're servicing, and it's the fence is 8 feet? Isn't it?
That's correct, yeah, 8 foot
fence,
to
and
meet the code requirement.
Typically, you'd be a foot down from that, right? You're not gonna have any trucks in there, you're not gonna have any box trucks or anything like that, are you?
No, no, and
It would be higher than the 8 feet is the point I'm getting at.
correct.
So
Yep,
it's just strictly residential, regular automobiles,
that's correct.
no other kind of vehicles. Okay, that's fine.
So let's clear up this access road issue here now. So the fire department reviewed it with it. So to take it away now, I kind of feel like we need to go back with the fire department and see how they think about it. Because they reviewed it with it there. And so you see where we're at here?
Okay, I mean, we can provide it if, if it's required. I don't know the time to go back and let the fire department review it again. I think just from a cost perspective, though, with the other requirements, having the R2s on the ground, I think, I don't know that there's really much of a cost savings to move them from the roof to the ground. So my question would be, do we have the ability to put them on the roof if they're properly screened? As another option.
Ms. Cantanzariti? Mrs. Cantanzariti?
Yes, they certainly could put them on the roof, with, of course, the proper screening. But again, we would have to make that as a condition that those serviceable units on the east elevation would be removed.
And by doing that, you eliminate the service drive. But still, the fire department still might want the access all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, would say.
I hate to speak for them.
We can make it a condition if the fire department
Okay,
prefers it.
Perfect.
yeah, make it a condition.
You okay with that?
Can you repeat that, please?
Kathy,
If the
please?
fire department prefers to have the service drive, it will be installed. Rather than rather than tabling the application, going back to the fire department, coming back and waiting 3 weeks, we would just add that as a condition if required by the fire
If
department.
required. Yeah, I think
Then
we're
it
okay
will be,
with that.
it
if
shall be
it's-
installed.
If it's a requirement by the fire department.
Right.
So for you, though, if the fire department requires the access drive, would you rather have the units on the ground?
There's a lot of details that we'd have to go through and, weigh the different costs. I'd like to have both options, to ground. But if the fire department requires that, then generally speaking, I'd like to have both options if possible.
Okay, and if you put them on the roof, you have to properly screen them.
Correct.
Okay? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve modifying item proposed condition 3 to say if required by the fire department. And then how do we make I'm not sure how to make the motion regarding
If the service,
if the fire department does not require an access drive, they can stay in the ground. If they do want the access drive removed or can be removed, then you want them on the roof.
I believe other way around.
The other way
yeah.
around? Other way around. Reverse that.
I think,
So it's a joke. Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering if it wouldn't be easier just to, I don't know what apparatus the fire department could get through a 12-foot service drive, quite frankly. Maybe an emergency squad, I don't mean to speak for them certainly, but an engine seems like it's not going to fit. But so they may have reviewed it, but that may not have been material to their review. So obviously the commission's flying a little bit blind in that regard tonight. So, if I could try to retool it a little bit. How about keeping the condition as is presently, the proposed service drive accessing the mechanical units on the east elevation shall be paved with concrete or asphalt labeled in the final site plan, gravel is not an improved surface. This would maybe be new. In the event the fire department does not require the service drive, then the service drive shall be deleted from the plan.
Perfect.
Sounds great.
And now, if there's something unexpected happens, they can always come back for a further miscellaneous review or something too. You're not precluded from doing that should something else come up.
Do we need to add a condition to have the option to put the RTUs on the roof if we go that route? Or is that just something we can do?
We could add that in the
Well, not,
architectural review.
yeah, I'm sorry, and it's not, I just wasn't sure what the nexus was between the service drive and these ground-mounted units. If the desire is that if the service drive does have to go on, then the ground-mounted units would be mounted on the roof in order to avoid construction of the service drive, but then there's still that foundational issue, whether or not the fire department wants it for firefighting purposes. It seems like whomever, their civil engineers drafted the plan for those to be ground-mounted and there to be a service drive, and that's what the fire department reviewed, so it didn't seem like that was an issue at that point. But
Yeah, so I think our civil engineer had separate conversation with the city, and I don't recall who they spoke with, but about that being required, and, we dug through the code and had additional conversation with John, mentioned that it's not required by code, but we would just need to explain how we were going to access those units on the side.
Oh, so is that probably where the service drive came in? Just
Yes, 100%.
oh, was there any explanation that you could share with the commission as to why there would be a need? Granted, you don't want apparatus driving over grass to service anything. I understand that, but assuming it's fairly compact and it's possible, was there any explanation as to why a service drive would be necessary? And again, not to.
Brandon,
Well, they're not exactly, you can't really walk up to them if they're on the roof either. Obviously, there has to be some, you have to get up there and someone has to take some measures to access them. So was there any explanation that the commission could maybe have a little background as to the nature of that conversation and why that was necessary?
yeah, Brandon's the one that actually talked with John, so I'll let him speak a little bit further on that. But, that is the conversation that I had with our engineer. Again, can't speak for them on the exact details of the conversation they had with the city, but that was one of the reasons we dug into the code and took it a step farther, just because we didn't really get a solid reason on why it was required. And with typically not having to drive on the roof, we didn't really see need for it to be on the ground-mounted units. But I'll let Brandon speak a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so the conversation on the drive seemed to be inspired by just means of access. It sounded like, John only said that you needed to know how they were going to be accessed. And like Nick said, typically when they're on the roof, you don't have any kind of drive to drive up to it. And so as long as we had an explanation of how they would be accessed, where they would be parking, and their means of access, that would be sufficient and that road wouldn't be required.
It was part of the preliminary site plan, and it was a condition to explain the access to those service areas. They have doors on them. It wasn't clear if that was going to be paved, if it was going to be grassed. It was just the plan wasn't clear. So we were looking for clarification. And again, seemingly, if you have doors and you have an access to something that you need to service, in most cases, you don't just approach it by way of grass. You have a paved area to access it, so.
Because what exactly is in there?
The HVAC units for air conditioning and heating.
Okay. So if you ever had to make a major repair for them in the future, I mean, you got to go on grass now.
Correct. Just, thinking of my own house.
Right.
It's in the rear of my house, so they walk around back and service it.
I mean, I think we're good with condition 3, that if the fire department doesn't want it, then so be it. I guess I'm okay with it. And as far as putting them on the roof, if you do, you got to follow the code.
Yep, understood.
With Joe's condition.
With Joe's condition. You need it?
Okay.
We're good?
And this is just a site plan.
It's just a site plan. We're going to get in the architectural here in a minute.
Thank you.
Is there a motion on the table?
Yeah, Mr. Varga.
Oh, I think it was George.
George, so we need a second.
Second.
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Ms. Small?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes. Architectural review of an automobile repair shop at 7515 Tyler Boulevard. Back to back. Tell us a little bit about the architecture.
Yeah, so as you can see, we've got stucco on the most of the south elevation where the office is. That's where the customers enter through the front door there. There's an awning over the door, and then awning over all three windows. This is Caliber Collision's prototypical plan. We've got stone over the entrance door as well, and then the stone table running the length of the front elevation as well. And then just showing the prototypical signage for reference on this elevation. On the sides of the building, we did upgrade the panels from metal panels to structure rock. It's a stucco-based architectural panel. We've used it on numerous other projects where the metal panel is not allowed, or in this case where, I think helped eliminate some of the stone running up halfway up the building. I can see which elevation that is that we're looking at there. Oh, this is the screened-in area. This is one of the conditions that was implemented, that the stone, I believe it was knee-height water table will be required. I think, the reason we didn't initially provide it was our thought process was looking from the street. If you got the fence, you're not going to be able to see this. There wasn't a need to put the stone, just try to save some costs, but we understand the city's concern, and we're okay with that. We'll plan on putting the knee-high water table down the length of the west elevation. And as you can see up at the southwest corner where the office is, the stucco wraps around the side of the building there, and then also the knee-high stone water table does as well. And then up top, we've got the exhausts that's screened. And as mentioned previously, if the RTUs do move up top, we'll make sure to screen those as well. And then that on the east elevation, it would be the same. We've got the structure rock panel, and then the knee-high stone water table as well, which is visible from the street. And then the rear of the building is just our typical standard elevation. They'll screen in the units on the roof. Since it's not street facing or not visible from the street, we've left our standard elevation in the metal panels. I think that covers all four sides. Happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Thank you. Kathy, anything from the administration?
Nothing other than the two conditions noted.
Anything from the commission members?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Varga?
did you review the two conditions that they stated?
I did. I don't have them in front of me, but if you don't mind just repeating them, I'd appreciate it.
You want to read them?
Per the Meadow Design Guidelines for industrial corridors, the meadow siding on the east elevation shall not exceed 50% of the wall elevation surface. Because of the storage enclosure, just a masonry knee wall shall extend along the entire length of the west elevation. Updated elevations shall be included as part of the building permit submission. The second item is pertaining to full screening of any rooftop or ground-mounted utility units in accordance with 116206.
Okay, yep, thanks. But yeah, I think I've covered all of that. The only other note I would add is in reference to the exceeding the 50% of the west wall with the metal siding. Like I mentioned, we've since updated that to the structure rock panel, which is a stucco-based panel.
But not masonry.
I'm sorry?
But not masonry. The specific requirement that she's stating has to do with the amount of masonry.
That's correct. You know, we originally didn't put that on the west elevation, just since the fencing is blocking it. But after seeing the city's recommendation or condition, we're okay with that.
Okay. Now, just to kind of circle back on this discussion about whether the units are ground-mounted or rooftop-mounted, you've got two vents up there now that will have to be shielded. You have two ventilation units that are exposed, and those are, the east elevation is readily visible from the street, so those would have to be screened. Now, if you bring the units up, they would also have to be screened. It might require that you create a wall up there as high as you are on the other side. I know your roof slopes down, so you might have to change the drainage from just a gutter and downspouts to scuppers and downspouts, because the wall would go up higher than where the roof is. You follow me?
Yep, understood.
So I guess all we can say, I mean, you know, we don't know which way you're going to go. It sounds like there still might be a decision to put the units on the roof. If you put the units on the roof, you've got to screen them all completely from view, especially from the east, including the two units that are up there now that are not screened, the two ventilation units.
Okay, understood.
Okay? So there might be different ways of doing that, but they have to be acceptable to the city.
Yep. You know, a lot of cities do not require that, but we've had a couple that have. So, I mean, we've done it before, and we'll make sure to get those.
Apparently, I'm the police on this, so. So, yes, we want all the mechanical units screened and our rooftop units, or any equipment on the ground too, for that matter, has to be screened, so.
Understood. And then I think there was one that may have missed. I don't know where it falls in here, but it was in relation to the duct work on the side. We've got a plan to either screen those on the outside of the building or take them internally below the fence so they're not
In the
visible.
building and then come up inside the building, yes.
Exactly, yep.
And I was gonna say, if they stay on the ground, you gotta figure out a way to screen the ductwork.
Understood.
But that would be the way to do it, take it in, and then take it up. Yeah. And I think basically the condition for screening is clear enough, so we don't have to change the conditions.
In the condition 1, you're okay with the 50% brick or stone on east elevation and then the knee wall on the west? I sensed a bit of hesitation there.
I was just trying to provide clarification. You know, I think it states that the metal siding on the east elevation shall not exceed 50% of the wall elevation service. And then it goes on to state that because of the storage enclosure, just the masonry knee-high wall shall extend along the entire length of the west elevation, which we're okay with. And then on the 50% requirement, we're not providing the metal siding any longer, so that's not applicable in my opinion.
Kathy?
We're fine. Obviously, we recognize that this area is going to be enclosed on the west elevation, but there is a possibility in the future that a different tenant comes in and the storage enclosure is removed, and then you have only metal seam panel wall, and that's not what the
I
city's looking for.
think he was making
so.
reference to the east side.
Well, the east side, would be the 50% because it's not enclosed, so.
That's, I still think there's a gap here in understanding. That's right.
I do.
There
too.
is, yes,
On
sir,
the
Kathy.
east
I'll-
I think what you're referring to as brick or stone is not what we think is brick or stone. What is this paneling that you're referring to?
Yeah, so it's paneling, and Kathy, I'm not sure if you were at last meeting, but I think we talked to the gentleman that was at the last meeting and then had some follow-up conversation with John. But that's the structure rock panel, that's a stucco-based panel, so there will be no metal panels on either the east or west elevation.
Okay, so now I think the confusion is that whereas the condition reads metal panel, the intention, I think, was to increase the amount of masonry on the wall, but he's just eliminating the metal panel. So he's meeting the condition as written.
Yeah, I believe, if I'm understanding the condition, it mentions a knee-high wall shall extend the length of the west elevation, which we're okay with.
I don't know. It'd be nice to see. No, it's not.
I can't read that writing, and I don't think it was updated on the submission, was it? If it was, then we missed it, but
Structure, rock, stucco, textured,
so 408,
architectural, metal panel.
okay. I think we assumed it was the same metal as before. So the guidelines specifically refer to if the walls are metal. And if they're not, then that's up to your discretion, so.
We don't have a sample of this panel here, do we?
Don't have it here, no.
Is it metal covered in stucco, or, because the way it's referred to on the, what does that 408 say again? Structure rock featured architectural metal panel.
Yeah, so it's a metal panel behind the surface, and then it's stucco covering the panel.
Okay.
There are some stains. It's not as drastic as a metal panel, but yeah, it looks like stucco. It's actually preferred by the contractor. You know, it's easier to install, it's easier to maintain, it's durable. You know, you don't get the nicks like your standard stucco. So, like I mentioned, we've had a lot of success with it on other projects, and yeah, have used it any time that we've ran in a situation where a metal panel is not allowed.
The other concern I have, all these things are kind of connected, is that if in fact you put stuff on the roof and you take the exterior wall and raise it up to be high enough to hide all the stuff on the roof, now that same panel is now considerably larger, and the little bit of masonry on the bottom doesn't really meet the city's expectation, right?
You know, I can't speak for our architect, but just based on, you know, previous examples that we've had to raise the roof, we have not had good luck with that. You know, you get a lot of leaks, so I don't think we would go that route. It'd be very similar to what you're seeing there, where everything is,
So
you
you
know,
might just
separated.
raise the roof.
It would not.
Well, you know, you can't, you gotta put shielding in front of it, right?
Yeah, they would just be separate structures like
Yeah,
that are
okay.
currently shown.
I don't care how you shield them. I mean, I'm just saying, it's conceivable if you have all this equipment on there, you might just take the exterior wall out, bring the water through scuppers and downspouts rather than a gutter, you know. But it's not, it's your decision how you want to do that. All right. So, is the city satisfied with that explanation?
Like,
Okay. Are you satisfied with that explanation about the east?
Yeah, and I apologize. It is a little confusing, the metal panel siding with stucco texture, and without having the actual sample, it just wasn't clear. So for that, I think we misinterpreted it when we were reviewing it. I was not at the last meeting, so I wasn't part of it. So I mean, but it's, you know, if you're comfortable with it not being metal and not looking like metal.
but
then-
ultimately, it is metal.
Behind the
It says
surface.
metal panel on it.
Yeah, I wish we could just remove that, but yeah, behind the
Right.
surface, it's metal, but.
Coated metal panel, essentially is what, texture,
to the touch. It's like
it's made to look like,
Stucco.
right, okay.
All right. I think we beat that to death.
And we would want to modify that condition.
Yeah.
Well,
With that, I'll entertain a motion. Now you can do it.
Well, no, we're really not changing anything. That's the thing. I mean, okay, let me just see here. What do we need to change?
I mean, I don't want to, you know, take this out any longer, but I do have a picture that I can email somebody. They can pull it up on the screen. I think the best I could do to show you guys what it looks like. Got a picture I could probably access pretty easily. That's from one of our previous projects.
what?
That's a close-up.
You could, I mean, I guess basically indicate that the proposed stucco textured metal panel
Is acceptable.
is acceptable, the applicant shall provide a actual sample at the time of building permit submittal. And if there's any question on our part, we can always bring it back for a director's report and have you
Okay.
guys look at it. But I mean, I would think that would be fine, as long as we had something for the case file.
But I don't know if this product meets our code for masonry wall. And it's kind of made to look like one, but it's not.
I don't know how to.
I know.
Can we do something contingent on you guys seeing it? And
Well, okay, let's stop for a second and say, okay, let's just assume that we don't feel comfortable with this stucco-faced metal panel. And that we want to meet the requirements of the code, or of the, you know. How would they accomplish the 50% masonry, non-panel, right? Would they just, you know?
Well, you could, at the very least, you could continue the stone veneer that's on the front of the building and just continue it on the sides. It's wrapped around the sides on the office portion of the building.
Just 4 feet high.
Yeah, you could do it that way. You could just do a knee wall on each side and call it a day. I mean, you know, and then you still have that continued stone veneer that carries
As a
that.
base.
Yeah,
And just, well, that's the way the east is now. It is that way. They do have.
on the east side, yes.
Yeah.
But so you could mirror that on the west side and just keep it as a knee wall.
And that's what we plan on.
Okay, all
Undone,
right.
yeah.
All right.
Hold on, what, you have your site plan approval, right? These details that we're talking about, this is not make or break this project at this point.
Okay.
So we could table this, and you could bring that product in, you could finalize what this thing's gonna look like, and we'll take a look at it.
And, well, and he can continue, and he could make his building permit submittal while he's doing it.
Right, you
That's
can do all
fine.
that.
We're not holding that up.
I mean,
That's-
whether we want a little bit more masonry or not, this building's getting built at this point, right? I mean, you've got your site plan.
Right.
Okay.
So,
And I
no, go ahead.
was just thinking through the cost perspective. I mean, I honestly don't know that there's a big cost difference other than the construction side of things, but again, it's easier to install and just the durability.
But I think that, you know, you get a chance to talk to your architect, find out where these rooftop or side units are gonna go, figure all that out, figure your gutters out, figure out the 50%, bring a new picture in. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at, but.
I mean, I've got a picture I can email one of you guys right now and look
Is
at
that,
it.
what he has on the screen, is that consistent?
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Yeah, I apologize for the confusion. I thought we had talked through it and had it settled, but I think this is a good enough picture that hopefully you guys can see it.
Okay. So you
There-
may not like this, but I think we have too many things floating here. Too many, you know, things are going to change. It may be one way, maybe the other. I'm going to suggest we table this, so that you can come back and finalize all these things, and the next time we meet, and we'll feel more comfortable with what it is we're approving.
And you can move along with your
And I
permits.
don't think that's going to hold you up on a schedule-wise.
Rooftop units and everything, you'd see
Now,
that.
whether,
See it all.
whether it's rooftop, make a decision, rooftops, not rooftops, you know, bring in the sample of the panel, you know, and we can wrap this all up at the.
If they're
next
going on the roof, what's the screening gonna look like? All of it. There's a lot of what ifs right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure I'm fully understanding. What are we lacking on the side elevations at this point? If we were to provide the knee-high stone wall?
Well, I mean, I'm speaking for myself now. We've got, the mechanical system can be one way or the other. We might have screening on the roof, we might not. We have some screening, we may have more screening. It changes the way the building looks. I don't know that we all feel comfortable that this material that you're talking about is significantly different from metal siding.
So we'd
Okay.
want to see
So I think we need to
Sample.
be more comfortable with accepting this in lieu of metal siding from an architectural point of view. And I think you could make that presentation the next time we see you.
Okay, understood.
I mean, does everybody on the commission feel that way?
Can I send a quick email to,
I don't think you're saving it. I think it's going to the table here.
I'm not trying to save it, I just
Yeah.
want to show it to you guys. I think it's a better picture than you guys were seeing online.
As far as the structure rock goes, that example that Larry just had, that has all that texture, that I think does a good example.
Yeah.
It's heavily textured, looks very different from a metal pan.
Except that it's still striped. I mean, it's still, what is it, 14-inch, 20-inch slab? I mean, just goes boom, 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 like, it still is installed like metal siding, right? It's
It
not,
doesn't have, no, like every 16, like a 16-inch, there's a break. That's not the case. It's
okay, well, I guess here, this is just making the point that we need more information to see what this is so that we can feel comfortable with it. I think that's where we're at. So I'm going to make the motion that we table this,
Second.
architectural. Second.
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Ms. Small?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes. We're gonna truck along here.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
He's still saying.
Building addition, site alteration at 9535 Hamilton Drive.
Mr. Chairman, I want to clarify for the other person in the audience, if that is their first item, maybe that, let them know.
Are you, amend the conditional use permit on Lakeshore Boulevard? Congratulations. It passed. Yeah. Please give us your name and address. Tell us a little bit about what you want to do.
Hi, George Davis, 9134 Tyler Boulevard, Mentor, Ohio. Myself and Rick Summers are the developer of this subdivision. I think everyone's pretty much aware of it. We were here a number of times. This is a new industrial park at the end of Mercantile and Hamilton Drive. And the first structure that we built, which you can see in that overhead photo, is a 125,000 square foot warehouse. It's a very unique site. It has three frontages, pretty much. There's only one side that's not frontage. And so, have a tenant, a national company we're excited to bring to Mentor. They're from Louisiana. They supply electrical transformers and switchgear, et cetera, to public utilities. This plan for them to move to Mentor is directly related to their relationship with First Energy. And as a builder and developer, I can tell you that we are really struggling to get product so that First Energy can give us power. So this will help alleviate that for not only our development, but developments all over northern Ohio. Because of the size of the equipment that they distribute, in addition to the 80,000 square feet of office and warehouse, they have a requirement for a large outdoor storage area. And our proposal, I think, is a really good way to hide that area. The existing site, anything we did would be visible on, very visible on all sides. And here, due to the curve in the street, there's not that much frontage, which we provided an updated landscape plan. We can show that we've done nice screening of an 8-foot vinyl fence. Apologize for the initial submission where we had chain link with lath, but we did chain. And we're providing the landscape screening on the frontage. We're providing it on the side that is against the North Coast Lift Truck facility, and then along the future potential extension of Mercantile. And some other interesting facts: there will not be very much traffic at all. I can provide a letter if need be, but the tenant, Irby Company, anticipates one semi-truck a day delivering and a maximum of 2 trucks removing material, and those would not be semis, those would be like a stake body. All equipment that would be used for that lot, which would be a teleloader, would be stored inside at the facility, you know, the 80,000 square feet that they're leasing. It also adjusts our light poles to conform to the 20-foot height. Provided a photometric plan. There was, you know, no outside of the structures. Oops, sorry.
Speak more into
No,
the.
yep, sorry. So we would, you know, humbly request that the commission approve our request for this storage.
Thank you. Kathy, anything from the administration?
Mr. Chairman, we have a number of conditions. Maybe it's just easier if you had questions, we can go that route. I would point you into item number 2 of the conditions that are recommended. Specifically, because of the unique nature of this situation, and we provided a history of how this is coming to be. The outdoor storage can only be accessory to a principal use. And so by way of a lot split, lot combination, this is being added to the building, to the site where the building is. So this will actually be one lot bisected by a street. It's a little unique. But because of that, it contradicts the outdoor storage requirements, first of which is that you can't have outdoor storage fronting on a public right-of-way, which it does. So that's one issue. And then the second is the material of the surface of the storage area, which they're proposing to be all gravel. And that is also in contradiction with the section 116104. So what we've indicated is if the Planning Commission moves forward with an approval on this, it would have to be contingent on the Board of Zoning Appeals reviewing those 2 particular items by way of a variance, because again, it's in violation of what's in the code.
Anything from the commission members?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Head.
I guess I'm confused a little bit, Kathy, on this number 2. If you're combining the lots, which I think they would still need separate parcels anyways, right? You can't, from a surveyor, you can't have a right-of-way bisecting a property. I know in the past they did that, but the property lines went to the middle of the roadway, which doesn't happen here. So I'm confused, if you are going to connect those, why would it need to go to BZA? Because it would be conforming then.
It's still fronting on a public right-of-way. There's still a public right-of-way in the
So that's
middle
what-
of the lot.
So it's non-conforming no matter what happens, even if you do combine the properties?
Maybe the law director can speak to the lot combination or side.
Well, the short story on the lot consolidation is if the county's willing to accept it, you know, the city is comfortable. We do have older examples where properties are bifurcated by a right-of-way. Obviously, it's not current practice, but if the county's willing to accept it, the city's inclined at this juncture to sign off on it as a minor subdivision approval. So, with respect to the storage lot, it's really where it's sited then, as Ms. Cantanzariti indicated, I'm sorry, where it's supposed to be next to a building, you know, behind a right-of-way. You don't want storage yards, you know, directly next to a right-of-way. So there'll still be a right-of-way there, regardless of whether the lot's consolidated or not. So that's the aspect of it. It's specific location on what would be a consolidated parcel, which would be problematic for the code and require the variance, and then the actual surface material then for areas that are going to be utilized for any improvements.
So you say if the county approves it, so they may not even approve it. That be you're talking about the tax map department, correct?
We can speak to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they have, they have. In which case, it's done.
Richard Summers, they have approved, preliminary approved the site plan and stamped it, and basically it's ready to record. County has accepted it from the tax map department.
It wouldn't be a site plan, it would be a lot split?
Lot consolidation, I
Okay.
believe it's called, not a split, it's a consolidation.
Well, it's
In
a
the-
split from the bigger parcel, so it's two things. It's,
That's,
Correct.
yeah, okay, so there's,
A
Some
split
wheels.
from parcel A, which is the 60 or 55 acre parcel to the east side of the property. And then we're consolidating it with the property that the building's on, create one lot.
but two separate permanent parcel numbers?
Don't know the answer to that.
I- As a surveyor, well, okay, in my opinion, I think it would have to be, but.
Well, I don't know if that's very, you know, I think the biggest issue here is that this parcel is very unique where the big building is, and that we have right-of-way on three sides. So we have a hardship in that we don't have an area to store that's not on a right-of-way. We feel that this is the best solution to that, in that there's a pond, there's no traffic, there's no residential residents that are going to be affected by this. The nearest residents are over 1,000 feet away in Painesville Township.
I guess I agree, but it's still non-conforming. We still need to go to BZA no matter what we do.
I don't think that we dispute that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Varga?
keep in mind, this is your design, so it's not really a hardship that anyone else has incurred. It's your design that creates this geometry, so that's not important. The site plan, there's a little site plan here that you gave us in the package. All these 40 by 40 squares, what do they represent?
Basically, we asked the tenant, Irby, to give us, the administration planning asked us to ask for a typical site plan and a flow chart on how this material would be stored. And that's what Irby provided to us, that we provided.
These are not fence lines, these are not pads?
It's all open space behind the fence.
Okay.
I will add that we are very aware, and so is the tenant, of the 7-foot height limitation on storage.
Right. And I just want to review something with the comments that the city made. Right now, you've got it looks like you've got a gate very close to the street. When a delivery truck shows up, the delivery truck enters the gate and comes into the facility before it does any unloading or anything like
Correct.
that?
It will clear the gate for unloading, so there will be no,
It'll be inside of the gate?
correct. It will
Okay.
clear the gate for unloading. That was a comment, and we have submitted an updated plan to indicate that that is the case.
Now, I've gone through this, I know that you've made some adjustments already with the light poles and the fencing, and that's great. The one thing I still have an issue with is the fact that none of this is paved, and it's all gravel. My biggest concern is that any kind of wheeled vehicle is gonna tear this place to pieces every time, you know, you got semis making turnaround space. I know you're probably dead set against paving all this. You probably don't want to do that, though the regulations call for all this kind of storage to be paved. Would you consider, if this is the layout of the equipment, would you pave the roadways in here rather than the storage, these 40 by 40 drop or storage areas? Would you pave the roadway system so that when vehicles go in and when they come out, they don't cover the road with gravel? And, you know, I mean, in my mind, this is going to be a problem. Every time you go in and out with a big wheeled vehicle or with a truck or something, you're going to be bringing gravel in and out on on a right-of-way, and I have a problem with that. It's even on a turn, which is even more concerning, you know. So I don't know how you would maintain the crossover point between the storage yard and your facility if you're driving any kind of vehicles back and forth and it's only gravel. You're going to be bringing gravel back. It's going to be on the street, and I have a problem with that. Would you consider paving the roadway system inside here?
Good look at that, and I'd like to point out that First of all, this site will be what's called soil cementing, which is where it's a process where you add cement to soil for a very hard surface. And then we've had proposed 8 inches, 4 inches of what they call 1s and 2s, which are a bigger stone, with 4 inches above that. And if that's compacted in and done properly, I don't think you're going to have this issue. I think typically when you're going to bring gravel out on the road is when you have mud that attracts it to the tires.
Well, because none of it's paved, I'm telling, I have this concern. And it's
Understand.
because you're crossing a right-of-way, and the right-of-way's even a turn, it's a curve at that point. I just think we're creating a hazard by allowing the opportunity for nothing to keep gravel from coming off on the wheels. I understand you got relatively narrow aisleways here, and if you have a wheeled vehicle, you're talking about one of these larger four-wheel vehicles that articulate, and it's got a forklift, or you can lift up pallets and stuff like that. I understand but that's just going to chew up. If it's gravel, I don't care what you make it out of. You're going to, unless it's concrete, you're going to just tear it up over time. It's just going to happen. It's my opinion, but I think you need to pave the roadway system in here. In any place where the vehicles, you got like the tractor turning rate area, to just pave that so that we don't have stuff coming out onto the road, and that this maintains a certain level of the status of the roads that you have here at the beginning. I mean, it may work fine at the beginning. I just can't see this holding up without it being paved. So
Would you consider, in talking to Irby, the truck pulls in and it clears the fence, and you have basically an 80-foot-long tractor trailer.
yeah,
Then the telehandler unloads it, and then the telehandler would put it somewhere on the lot.
I understand.
What if we talked about where we take a 100-foot by 24-foot strip back from the end of the concrete pavement at the gate, where then the telehandler unloads it, and the truck was not intended to go around this whole lot. The telehandler unloads the reels or the heavy. In some cases, we're looking at 40,000-pound transformers, which eventually will cause problems on asphalt. It'll tear it up. It'll cause depressions. Then they freeze, and then your pavement goes to
I
hell.
understand that. I mean, that.
So what if we talked about a 25 by 100-foot strip at the end of that driveway, and we modify the storage area a little bit where the telehandler is not, so the truck's not going all through this lot and then dragging the mud out on the street or the
Well,
stone.
we know that the truck has to at least go someplace and turn around and come back out. It's not going to back out into the right of way again,
Yeah.
right? So at least, I understand what you're saying. I mean, I'm listening, and I just want to, remind all of us that the actual requirements say that this whole thing should be paved.
I understand.
So we're kind of debating about a compromise already. So I would say any place the truck goes has to be paved. And, I mean, since these areas are just, in one's mind, it's, unless they're going to paint lines on the gravel, where this is just going to be one big yard, I can see people cutting across, not following the drives, if they don't have every space filled. I mean, it can turn into I'm just concerned that this, to be maintained and to be something that, for instance, these guys leave and somebody else moves into this, that this is not a durable or area,
Well, I think we solved that by making this request a condition of this tenant.
Right.
So if this tenant leaves in 7 years, that it's not a lot anymore, or it's going to get integrated into the next building that we're going to bringing you shortly that goes to the east of this.
Yeah.
So here's what I would
Okay, go
propose. I would propose that we ask you to approve it tonight with a area for a truck to pull in, be able to back up and come back out, or a turning radius without getting into the gravel lot. So that's where the loading, unloading's done.
Well, that's good for the truck, but your other vehicle keeps going back and forth across the street. The one that does the lifting. That one with large articulating wheels, and those are gonna, that vehicle's gonna be going back and forth across the street all the time.
What kind of vehicle goes back and forth over the right of way? JLG?
No,
No, it's called a teleloader. It's an center articulating four-wheel vehicle.
You gotta get back into mic here.
It has a
Microphone. Yeah.
It's a four-wheeled vehicle, center articulating,
Yeah, I know.
rubber-tired
I
vehicle
think I know
that
what this
Oh, like
has
a big loader.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Teleloader. That's what I've always referred to it. Am I using the
Yeah,
wrong term?
Again, I'll go back to my earlier comments. My biggest concern is every time a vehicle comes out of this area, and if it's not paved, it's gonna bring gravel out with it. It's just going to do it, and it's gonna go across the street, and it can drop that gravel in the street, and that's the biggest concern I have about this.
well, the alternative might be to put in and they make them on construction sites every day, is to put in a tire wash system. That you have a bathing system where that vehicle goes through, and we could do that.
I'll let some of the other commissioners stay, I've kind of said what things are on my mind.
Anything from commission members? So the east line, you're not proposing any shrubs and trees or anything over there?
No, because there's no reason to. That we're gonna have an 8-foot vinyl fence.
Right.
And we have no neighbors at this time. The nearest houses are well beyond sight distance, and that 8-foot fence will screen anything that's in there.
And you're looking for future development here anyway.
Correct,
Right, I
correct.
see the layout.
And obviously it'll be large, what we call large box industrial, similar to what's out there, 40-foot walls. Nothing that would be offensive to an adjacent industrial builder to see an 8-foot vinyl fence.
To say this isn't a unique application, right, and the problem is it breaks so many of our rules. We're trying to work with you, but it breaks so many of our outdoor storage. And through the years, all the people that have come in front of us, it's been masonry walls, it's been a foot above everything, and it's been solid surface. And I understand what you're doing here. And I can even sympathize that you can't do 5 acres of concrete. But I'm on board with Mr. Varga on wherever that thing's going to, where the tires are going to be. I know what a loader looks like. You guys know. I know what they look like. I know what they do to sites. You know what I mean? They pump roads when they go over them. So I think you need to have, wherever the machine is going back and forth over the city right away, and even at that, you have a lot consolidation over a city right away with a loader that weighs 10 ton, carrying a 40,000-pound spool. How long is that road going to even?
Wait.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
loader's
they don't
not-
carry it back and
No,
forth?
absolutely not. This
So they
is-
just drop it in the yard and?
The delivery truck comes from the transformer company. It brings 4 transformers. Truck backs in, they unload it, and then they put it on a spot. Obviously too large to be on a pallet. Then Irby's truck comes, and if CEI says we need 2 transformers tomorrow, they load it on a stake truck. It doesn't go back out on a 18-wheeler truck, and
Okay.
it gets delivered. That no material will go from this lot to the warehouse. Another condition.
Oh, this lot here, this isn't a manufacturing process that this is brought back and
It's
forth?
strictly storage that's related to the storage business of Irby, or to the sales business of Irby.
So they store stuff here, there's a giant storm, people need transformers, they sell it to them.
Correct.
And CEI rolls in and picks them up.
Well, it's typically delivered from what the
Well,
town tells us.
yeah, right.
But they go out. So there would be no material going back and forth across the road.
So what do they do in their business?
They say you have a panel that goes in your garage that's this big. That's the kind of stuff. Small electrical components.
Light electrical components.
They basically, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they took over a company called Pepco in Eastlake, large industrial electrical distributor. So you have anything from circuit breakers that are the size of your hand to stuff, but this is stuff that's too heavy and too big to go in the
This
building.
isn't, this is not raw materials.
No, it's
that they
finished
u- okay.
material. It's cable on reels, it's switch gear, it's transformers, whether they be round and, 3 foot by 1 foot high. And another condition that we've agreed on and totally agree is if you can go back to the picture, Larry, of the building, we're not gonna store, there will be no storage in that,
Yeah.
behind the building where the truck docks are. Back to design, we were kind of handcuffed on this particular design of the subdivision because of the existing 2 roads that came into the site. And we had to have access, you couldn't have a dead-end access off one street.
Well, I see the predicament you're in, not only the lay of the land, but the easements that run through it. You can't build on top of the sewer and the gas. I get it.
So would you consider an approval with, or a recommendation, or a
Yeah,
tonight?
Kathy, how would this go? Let's say we add some concrete, and if it's not all concrete, it still goes to BZA, right?
I think that we don't want to commit to concrete. think-
I know, I'm just
Yeah,
using an
hard
example.
surface.
If it's not a hard surface, it goes to BCA.
I think so. I think so. Would you agree?
Yeah, so no matter what we do here, you understand, you still have to go to BZA.
do,
Unless you say solid surface. Then you don't go to BZA. Am I right when I say that?
Except for the fronting on a public right of way.
Except for the fronting on the public right. And you're gonna do some hills and stuff there to kind of cover up all that.
Mounding.
Mounding.
Extensive landscaping, you have an updated landscape plan tonight that shows the white fence with the stuff. That's what you're gonna see.
Okay. So I think our sticking point, at least mine, I think, and Mr. Varga, I don't want to speak for you, is what's the layout of the concrete inside?
Well,
I guess
we
that's
would
where we're
ask
at here.
tonight that we have an area for a truck to pull in, unload, and be able to turn, either back up and on the lot,
On the
and
lot.
go out head first.
Yeah.
And we would consider a wheel wash system that are very common, especially in urban sites.
I know what that is, yeah.
And that should solve the
But you gotta
problem.
maintain that though, too. I mean, you
we
gotta
don't-
use it. If you don't use it, you know.
Make it a condition of the approval.
Well, I know, but.
Hold on, if you have where the semi drives in, turns around, never touches dirt or stone, and the machine that's in there is loading into some truck that's also not touching dirt, you don't need a wheel wash. There's never any wheels.
No, the wheels are
Marcus'
the.
point is that
the
truck,
machine goes
the
across
machine
The
will go
machine,
through
it
the lot.
doesn't stay
Yeah,
over there.
It goes into into the space, it's turning, it's grinding, I know it's gonna come loose. I know, I understand this, but the wheels are gonna get caked with stuff if it's raining, and then it comes back across the street, it's gonna drop some of that in the street. That is not safe.
We agree. So the wheel wash system is basically a pit that a vehicle pulls through. It washes, I'm explaining to the other members, and it washes the tires, so when it gets back on that concrete, those tires are washed.
Yeah, I could,
I feel like Mrs. Cantanzarini. Did you have some?
I guess we're just trying to understand if there's going to be some sort of concrete in there, how does semi turn around properly and stay on concrete?
Could we work with you, Kathy, on that? Between Irby, ourselves, and you, administratively, working on whatever system, a turnaround system that would be.
You would have to be comfortable with it for us to do that.
Pretty much an engineering
yeah,
system.
you're talking about flatbeds that come in, like 18-wheelers?
Correct.
So you have to be able to turn a truck like that. The information's out there, how
Whatever that
It
rate
kinda-
is.
it may take up more space than you're showing here, but
It
unless
basically-
unless you can do a pointed turn or somehow to get the truck to turn around and come back. I guess what we're saying is you're gonna have to come up with a new plan, this plan, as to what's paved, what's not paved, where the loading and unloading zone is. And you're saying that you're gonna compact these these driveways sufficiently that they don't fall apart. Is there a point where the city has any other jurisdiction after we come back and this thing's turned into a mud pit? Can we say, wait a minute, that's a problem,
think that, you know, you're not going to cause a nuisance, and that would be part of the approval.
Well, again, it just becomes, you know, the vehicle going across the road is getting dirtier and dirtier, it's getting sloppier and sloppier. I know you use it a towel. I'm just trying to make it work, you know, I'm just trying to figure out how this
I
works for
think a
everybody.
pretty simple solution would be to think about a cul-de-sac at the end of a street that has a fire truck radius of 120 feet. And we come in, and at the end of that concrete area we proposed at the gate, you have a cul-de-sac.
You can do that, I think.
And you got 5 acres to play with. I mean,
Exactly.
you could turn a truck around at 5 acres.
Correct. So you basically have a cul-de-sac with a 120-foot radius, which is a common design for a truck or a fire truck or a school bus to turn. The trucks stay on that, there's a sign, that's the policy. And for the unloading vehicle, we have a truck wash,
Tire wash.
tire wash, I'm sorry.
Yeah, anything that's gonna be running across the street that's not been on the concrete you need to maintain the condition of the tires so that you're not dragging whatever onto the street. Otherwise, you know, after, it's just gonna get bad, and we don't want that, you know, that's all.
And we are dealing with a Fortune 750 company here, you know, it's not like we're dealing with somebody that's not used to playing by the rules, so that
Yeah.
they are, you know, used to playing by the rules, so, you know,
I'm just,
make that a
If the
condition
city
would be
starts
fine.
getting a lot of complaints
Yeah.
about a road, and
might have to do something different. I'm looking down the road, the guy who's going home and he's on a motorcycle, and goes,
Totally
hits
understand.
that curve, and it's gravel in there, it's, who's gonna pay that ticket, you know? Who's gonna take care of that problem? And we
Good.
don't want that.
to the mic.
Oh, yeah, we don't want that.
Can we ask to have the condition added that we would do the cul-de-sac there in hard
Yes,
surface?
yes, well, let's just say that anywhere, let's make a condition, I don't know.
Hold on. Is there anything else?
Yeah, right.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Haddon?
I'm assuming the pond's going to be in the back along the, what, the
Railroad
north
tracks.
side? And there's going to be a gate, I would assume, to maintain that pond somewhere, 'cause I don't know how else you get back there.
As designed right now, and we looked at it today, but when the pond is actually enclosed, the fence is beyond the pond if you look at the
Oh,
exits.
gotcha. Okay. Sorry, I didn't see that. Thank you.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
So we took a look at some other Irby locations and their outdoor storage areas, and I guess my one question, because of the vast area that we're talking about, can you guarantee that these are gonna stay in nice, neat rows, or is this gonna be kind of a free-for-all of equipment? I mean, so, again, how do you guarantee that, you know, everybody stays on the nice turnaround and all of that? I'm trying to visualize this, and it seems to be fairly nicely stacked. You've got a turnaround here that seems to be well-defined, and if you have these rows that are well-defined, then it would, I guess, give us maybe some level of comfort that those will be honored and those lanes will be maintained. But when you start having things kind of all over the place, and you have some of it gravel, some of it pavement, I guess I'm just trying to envision how this is going to play out in the long run. I mean, is there something wrong with not with using this turnaround that's in the picture now? Is that just because it's too much concrete and you don't want to put that much concrete in?
Personally, I think that you could do a better design. This is what Irby sent us, and I can't see a truck there's no way a truck's gonna make that turn in the top left.
Well, I'm glad you see that, too.
Totally agree. So I think the best solution here is to basically put in, from the gate in, 120-foot turning radius that allows that truck to turn and not get off the area.
Or whatever their turn-in radius is for a semi.
The industry standard,
I
I think, is 120. Wouldn't you agree, George, for cul-de-sacs? So we do a 120-foot radius that's paved there, and again, this condition, and we'll go back to them, the condition of the approval is that we have this concrete area that the trucks can't go off of.
And let me just, I think you said this before, too, and let me add it to the idea, and then we can figure this condition out. It's not just where the wheels of the delivery trucks or the trucks that leave go. It's also the loading area adjacent, so that area doesn't get chewed up like crazy, and that the rest of it we can kind of try to live with. Okay, so it's everywhere where either a delivery truck or, well, yeah, I mean, any kind of wheeled delivery truck, anywhere that would go inside this fence would be a concrete surface.
I would,
Or asphalt.
hard surface.
Or, well, asphalt. Now, asphalt gets torn up too after a while, so you want to think about this, because I understand you're saying hard surface. You're right. We only really require hard surface. So if that's what you're going to live with, that's fine.
Well, I think if we're going to do the cul-de-sac, we would commit to concrete.
That's what I was that's kind of what I'm getting at, because the turning of the vehicle and stuff, it's just going to chew everything up.
We would
right?
agree to that.
So the hard surface, can we call it hard surface, Kathy? Just instead of concrete or asphalt, hard surface? He wants to put concrete down where the trucks turn. I agree, but I don't want to design this thing for him.
Improved surface is what the code reads, improved
Improved
surface.
surface, okay. Well, that's,
But you can't have semis turning around on asphalt.
no, it's going to tear it down.
And this subsoil here, this is a wet area of Mentor.
That's why we're
Yeah,
soil
this is-
cementing.
yeah,
We
it's-
budgeted
right.
for that, and we know it.
So we're going to have anywhere where the delivery or
Loading or unloading,
loading or unloading takes place, and the path of the transport trucks, wherever they go, wherever they're inside the fence, that's going to be an improved hard surface, if not concrete, right?
correct.
Okay. And all the other conditions still apply, right? The fencing, the light posts, right? I mean, we're not changing any of these other ones. So I guess we're talking about a 14 condition. She's looking at me right now.
Okay, so, anyone else?
Anyone want to add anything to this, that we're not catching something?
Kelly, you came all this way, do you want to? No?
Just really quick, I will say that this has been a project on this property in this innovation park for many years to come, that we've worked, as you know, side by side with them. We've worked with the state to get it a approved site for the state of Ohio. When businesses want to come into the state of Ohio, it is a very rigorous process to get a site approved for these big Fortune 500-plus companies to come to our area, and we do get proposals on this site quite often. So I think that's something that we should probably think about as well. Logistically, this property, these are the kind of companies that you're going to see want to locate here with the railway, the freeway, and where it's situated in that. So obviously, we want those kind of companies here, the companies that are respectful and have a name for themselves and, like they said, play by the rules, know how to do their business and bring employment, obviously, to the city.
Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Do we have the condition defined enough for her? No, I didn't think so. Okay.
That's quite the look.
Yeah, it told me a world of hurt. Right. Okay, so the number 14 condition will be that all areas within the fenced storage where a delivery truck and the loading and unloading takes place will be a hard, improved surface. And, okay, period. This will also include a turnaround, a concrete turnaround, and a wheel wash facility at the gate. Does that capture everything? Okay, that's the
Thank you.
14th, right?
A second.
Second.
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Tiedemann?
No.
Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Mr. Haddon?
No.
Ms. Small?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes. Number 7, meeting schedule. Kathy? We just approving this? Anybody have any issues with the schedule? We want any changes? Are we all good?
One conflict, but I'll ask for it when we get closer to it.
All right. Do I need a,
Yes.
with that, I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes?
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Ms. Small?
Abstain.
Hold this.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Why you abstain?
It's not for the moment, is it? I abstained.
Oh.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
Kathy, anything?
Nothing else
Sure.
positive.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.